This talk is mostly all about a game that I've worked on, which is Dead Cells. It's really gameplay-oriented, so we'll talk about that and some kind of post-mortem of this game, but really gameplay-oriented. So first thing first, let me introduce myself. So my name is Sébastien Bénard, known as Deep Knight on Twitter and everything. I'm a game developer, I'm a game designer also, and as you probably noticed, I'm French. So I really hope that won't be too much of an issue, so I will take extra care just to make me understandable, but sometimes you may miss a few things. Also, I've been making games for like ages, literally ages, and yeah, young me is proud of me, I hope. And I really love making games. I mean, I've been doing that for years and would like to do that for years again, so that's really important to me. And another thing which is important, so you can understand a little bit more this talk, I really like to take care of lots of details, such as game feel, controls, balancing, everything which is invisible to the player, but that actually matters in a game. So it will explain a few things after. Also, I do lots of game jam, as soon as possible because I have a kid now, so it's a little bit more difficult. But if you have never done a game jam, you should definitely do one. Because it's really, even for someone who is seasoned on the game making, it's really a huge, very important experience. So you learn tons of things about that. So if you do game jams, yeah, you're cool. If you don't, you're not. So I do work in a company which is called Motion Twin. We've been talking about that in a previous talk, which was all about co-op. So I will just be quick. We've been making games since 2001. It was mostly web games, especially web free-to-play games. You know, it was, by this time where making a free-to-play games was actually cool or not too hard, because it was before, you know, the KPI thing and the free-to-play aggressive techniques and everything. It was like the cool free-to-play part. We also tried to make a few mobile games. It wasn't that good, and we actually almost died in the process of doing that. So we didn't have such a great time on mobile free-to-play. We should probably have done premium mobile games. Most people describe us, because it used to be a joke really, like we put that on a website, it was a Monty Python quote, but most people describe us as being you know, an anarcho-syndicalist co-op. We actually are a co-op. So it means in this company, we are based on 3 equalities. The first one is we do work the same amount of time. So it's 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and in the same office. But that's also because we are a small team that we do that. It's really important for us to communicate on an everyday basis. We also have the exact same decision power. It's really important because in any kind of decision, such as a strategic decision, hiring someone, or deciding if this weapon should be like OP on the next update, or whatever like that, everyone can actually take part in the debate. And if you want to express something, if you have any kind of idea, anyone can actually vote or just talk to anyone to give ideas and to share ideas. There is always someone in charge at one point, so to make sure that we don't lose time talking, because we like talking, but we don't want that to last forever. I prefer making games. Also, the last but really not least, we are all paid the same way. So for example, I've been in this company for 18 years, it's almost since the beginning, and I'm paid the exact same way as someone who, say, arrived 2 years ago. So it's really important. It seems like, okay, it's super hardcore leftist thing. Yeah, it is in some way, but it actually makes hiring people very, very efficient, because when you get a newcomer in this company, he actually gets paid and has the same decision power as someone else after a test period, of course. It actually makes people feeling empowered really quickly, and they are involved much, much more quickly than in any kind of class company. So it makes everything actually on a day-to-day basis much easier to do. Let's talk about Dead Cells now quickly. Actually, did someone play Dead Cells in this room? Yeah. Okay, I was stressed, now I'm terrified, so it's okay. So Dead Cells basically is what we call a Roguevania. It's marketing bullshit, but it actually explains things well. It's basically a Castlevania that you can play again and again. So every time you die and get back at the beginning, you have a fresh experience in some way. The levels are different, but not totally different. So it's really that, a Castlevania that you can play again and again. You have to know, it was a last chance project. As I said, we almost died making mobile games, and by this time, because of the decline of the web, the company was not in such a great shape. So we had, of course, cash issues and everything. And at one point we decided, okay, do we want to make mobile games forever? Do we want to do something else? And at one point we actually decided maybe we should just make a PC title. You know, maybe that's the last one, so let's make something big. And this was actually a good idea because we, luckily we have survived this. But it was really, if this project did fail, I think I would just be today making like a sad post-mortem of how it was cool before. So no, it's not that today. We spent about 2 years and a half making this game. We spent about 1 year and a half on the early access thing. We announced 1 year, but we spent a little bit more because we had like, tons of interesting feedback. And we also made the console port, which was something planned at the beginning. So it took about 6 months to make all the 3 consoles. And so it was a little bit longer than expected, but still not too far from what we announced to players at the beginning. 1 year, a year and a half. The game itself sold more than 1 million units, which is wow, unexpected and cool. So we are really happy about that, of course. And about 60% as of today is on PC, which is quite normal because you know, the PC version, the early access went live before, 1 year before. But the thing is, you know, the console is really a big part of it, and especially the Switch. So the Switch is a thing today. So you already know that, so I won't elaborate on this. So the game itself. The game is based on 3 pillars. The first one is obviously combat. This game is all about killing stuff and not trying to get killed, or trying not to get killed, of course. And it's really all about that, positioning in space, avoiding attacks, reading patterns, and killing enemies. It's also about progression. And it's really, we wanted to have a strong sense of progression. That's a free-to-play legacy, something that we wanted to carry on. And also, it's all about replayability, also something that came from us from the free-to-play, the web free-to-play before. We have always been making games that you can play for hundreds of hours. So we wanted to have something like that. But all these 3 aspects are nothing compared to one very important thing, which is, the permadeath. You know, permadeath is like the old thing that everyone wants in the game, but no one wants in the game. And when we decided to make a permadeath-oriented game, it actually made lots of things. It changed lots of things in the game. So yeah, making a permadeath game is all about embracing this idea. Okay, you're going to kill the player, he will be sad, he will have to start naked at the beginning, so you have to make sure that it's actually a good experience, which on the paper doesn't seem like one, but anyway, we'll try to do that. So internally, the permadeath was obviously a very hot topic. Actually, at one point, we were not sure to want to make a permadeath game. So it could have been more classic Castlevania type of game. But because we were a small company, it was not possible for us to make like a 15 hours long title with tons of unique content. That was not something because we were just 8 people. And at the beginning, we just had 1 graphic artist to make everything. At one point, there were 2, which was, wow, more. But so it was definitely not possible to make a single, not permadeath game for us. So at one point, someone had this idea of maybe we should make the death as part of the progression in this game. Maybe we should consider that dying should be like, whoa, yeah, I died, so I can do something new. And this actually defined lots of stuff. This was a really great idea, internal idea that we had. Not to brag here, but yes, it changed really everything. First thing that was changed was we don't have any kind of backtracking between levels. So it means, for example, if you start the first level, which is the prison, if you exit this level and go to the promenade, which is the second one, you cannot go back to the prison. And if you want to play against the prison, you actually have to die to get back at the beginning again. So you cannot get back between levels. You can do whatever you want in a single level, but no backtracking. Another aspect is making sure that each run counts in some way. The way we did that is using the so-called dead cells in this game. When you kill someone, you probably will get dead cells, the blue dead cells. These dead cells can be used in a shop that you will see from time to time, which is called the Collector. And this shop allows you to invest your cells and to actually make progress on something, such as unlocking a new weapon, a new skill, or whatever. It's really about investing cells. The thing is, if you die, you lose your cells. But if you die, you keep this progress. So it's really, your goal is basically to get that cells, invest them so they are stuck in this bar. So you actually make progress every time you play. And at one point, maybe after 2 or 3 runs, you may unlock a weapon or unlock a skill that you have chosen to invest on. So it's really all about that, making sure that your death on this one wasn't useless. At least you make some progress on something, and maybe you have unlocked something. And also we do have, it's still a Castlevania-ish thing, so we do have Metroidvania things in this game. So for example, this is the basic world map of the game at the beginning. So you just start on the left on the prison, the first level, and then you move to the promenade, and after that you go to the ramparts, and you have a boss, and so on, and you continue through the game. But at one point, in the second level, in the promenade, you will get a new skill, which is permanent. And this skill allows you to grow vines out of the ground and to build ladders at specific points that were, before that, unreachable. You cannot, it's like an extra ladder that you can build in specific places. So it allows you to reach places that were locked before that. But the thing is, we do use that in this level, the promenade, but if you actually want to have new content, you actually have to get back to the prison. Because in the prison, if you have this skill, you will unlock a new access to a level, which is called the sewers, and it allows you to actually have a new path. After the prison, you can now go to the sewers, through the sewers. And this is the idea. It's an unlocking skill and making sure that you can use them, but when you die, when you get back at the beginning. And the same goes in the sewers. You have a new skill, which allows you to teleport yourself, and you can use that in the promenade. So obviously, you cannot use it straight away, but if you die and get back at the beginning, you are excited in some way because you had new things to do. And maybe there is a level that you can now access in a different branch. And it's all about that, making sure that your skills are used through death. And also, very important point, we had lots of debate and discussion about this internally. It's making the loop between dying and starting over really quick. We just have basically like 10 seconds because we have a loading screen. But when you die, you get back in action 10 seconds later. You don't have to press anything. You don't have to say, OK, I will do another run. You don't have any kind of stat screen that might take a little bit too long. It's really just, OK, you died. You get back into the action because it wasn't that's important. You just get back into action. So it was really important and something that actually made the death a little bit easier to get along with. Another point which was affected like a lot by the permadeath, it's the control. Why? Because in a permadeath game, you will die like a lot, and you will get back at the beginning. And the last thing that we want the player to actually feel is dying for stupid reasons. And we don't want the player to actually feel like, I was about to jump there, I fell in the lava, and I died. Seriously? It's a combat game. It's not a platform game. But still, it's a platform game. It's a side-scroller view, it's a 2D platformer, it's action, but it's still a platformer game. So we always ask this question. Is the platforming, for example, is meant to be a challenge? For example, if you take Super Meat Boy as an example, yes, platforming is part of the challenge. It's all about jumping and getting killed and getting back into action really quickly. It's all about that. But Dead Cells is really combat-oriented. Platforming, it's just a mean to move and to avoid enemies and to position yourself. And it's not an hardcore platformer game. So when we asked this question, it was really useful to many points. Is it meant to be a challenge? I mean, is the player supposed to die on doing this? And if the answer is no, yes, we just make sure that player succeeds. Let's see that into action. So we have just a basic situation here. The player is on the left side, and he wants to jump to the right side. So let's see that. Jump. Yeah, that was super intense. But maybe, I'm not sure if you have noticed a few things that actually did happen in this very short sequence. Let's see that again, but this time in slow-mo. So we can have time to actually notice all the stupid things that actually happen. Let's see the same sequence slow-mo. He starts to run. He's about to jump. Oh, he falls, but he jumps. And okay, he was definitely about to miss this platform because the feet were not on this target platform, but for some reason, he actually reached this platform. And that's lots of things like that we actually do, which are behind the curtain, that actually make sure that the player succeed in doing what he wants to do. First thing, this one is a very common thing, but when you don't have that in a game, including 3D games, it suddenly feels really awkward. This idea is, when you leave a platform and you're about to fall from a platform, we actually give you like 2 or 3 frames to jump anyway. Because we understand that you wanted to jump like on last split second, and you clearly missed. But yeah, it's not meant to be a challenge. So okay, you can jump. You can do that. So we allow jumps right on the last time. And also, we teleport you. For example, if we see that you are like 5 pixels away from the target platform, we understand that you wanted to go there. We, for example, check if there is lava, or are you pressing the right button, or stuff like that. And we try to understand, were you actually trying to get to this platform? Is it your goal? And if yeah, we just teleport you, because it's not fun to miss for 5 pixels. And if you're really too far, maybe we'll use extra animation, like what we saw in this video, which was like crouching and getting up, which is like a small timing penalty. Or if you're really too far, we just allow you to climb the platform, which is slow. So for speedrunner, it matters. But for most players, it's just, whoa, I just arrived on this platform. It was short, but I did it. And that's really important, because as I said, it's not part of the game. And it's all about understanding player intention here. We try to figure out what he's trying to do. Is it part of the challenge? If not, we try to make him succeed, or we help him into succeeding. Oh, yes, about the double jump thing. In the game, we decided to unlock the double jump right away from the beginning. It's not something which is locked in any way. You could decide to lock, but double jump for us is really like a quality of life thing. It's not about something which is realistic or whatever. It's all about giving your player ways to adjust and less to anticipate. So it's just really a quality of life thing. So yeah, you might want and in a game lock your double jump feature behind something, but hey, pro tip here, don't do that. So let's see a full movement sequence. Your player is trying to get a treasure on the right. He's moving, jumping, double jumps, breaks the door, gets the treasure. Yeah. It was, yes, something that really happens a lot in this game. You just move around and try to get something. But let's see the same sequence, but this time not in slow-mo, but we'll disable any kind of helper in this game. I mean, like everything. You don't have the just-in-time, you just have your jump, double jump, and that's pretty much it. So let's see how it actually happens now. So the player starts to run. No, there's a collision, so you have to jump. Okay. It's too high, you have to double jump. Oh, no, you cannot climb on walls, so... No, it's too high again. You have to double jump. Again. Okay, is this one easy? No. Oh. Okay, it's becoming annoying. So with double jump, I understood. Okay, this one is tricky, and yeah, no. Oh, you saw this last one, especially. It was like really, really unfair. And luckily, the guy didn't die on this one. But if he was dying, maybe it's a 10-minute long run, it would feel unfair. It's really all about that. It's really all about making sure that it doesn't feel unfair at any point. And this particular last example, everyone feels like, oh, it's okay. He was really maybe 1 pixel away or something, and he fell in the lava. It was, no, not a pleasant experience. And the same goes for combat. Actually, even if it's a combat-oriented game, if we say to players that we cheat like a lot to actually make them win combats, they will say like, oh, they will come with pitchforks and everything, and they will kill us, definitely. But we actually do that. But the thing is, this one is a little bit more tricky because we try to make sure that no one notices. Is this recorded? No? Sorry. So, for example, let's take a basic situation. You have a sword in your hand, you have an enemy behind you, and for some reason you attack on the left and not on the right. So you missed, but you need to attack this guy. That's something that we can actually detect. We just see you're about to swing your sword, but you're not facing the right direction. That's stupid, because the enemy is right behind you. So we just actually turn you around for free. And the thing which is great, we have this thing in the head, the brain, and the brain is trying to explain everything. And most players will actually just press the hit button, then the right button, and some of them will press the right button first, then the hit button. But in every case, the brain sees something happening on screen. Maybe the timing was not perfect, maybe he attacked before turning around, but the brain says, oh, okay, whatever, I did that. And it really works like that. It's really, actually, for the 1.5 year early access, I think we maybe had 2 people noticing this thing. It's a kind of hidden trick that actually makes life easier. Because missing the enemy by attacking the wrong direction, it's just not fun. We don't want that to happen, especially in a combat game. And the same goes, for example, for ranged weapons. We have a slight auto-aim, which is, of course, more obvious. But this one has a few tricks. For example, if you have a very fast weapon, a fast bow, we'll have a higher priority on small enemies, those who are low on HP or whatever, or maybe a big enemy with low on HP, or this kind of stuff. Maybe it's really close from you, about to hit you. So we have a priority system on targets. It's really different from using, for example, a very slow, powerful longbow like a sniper or something. In this case, we just want you to hit the big targets. You don't want to hit some crappy trash mob. You just want to focus on hitting the big target. So it's really all about that, making sure that we actually understand what the player wants to do and making sure that it feels like he was actually in power, he was in control, and he managed to do everything. Let's see a combat sequence, a full combat sequence in slow-mo, so we can see everything happening. So we break the door by rolling, dive on the enemy, he's not dead. So we press, but 3 turn around. This guy in the middle, he has more HP, so we take a little more hits. But you see on the right, there is the archer, he shoots at us, so we cancel. And we move to this guy, kick him to the wall. And this guy above is thrown a bomb on us, so we get behind him, we kick him, and he falls on his friend. And when someone falls on the ground in this game, it acts like a grenade. He has splash damage, something that we added, which was really hidden, but it feels intuitive. If you have an enemy falling on another one, he actually takes lots of damage from that. So you see this sequence is actually maybe 5 seconds long in a real time, and lots is happening inside this sequence. We don't want jumping to be an issue here. We don't want the player to actually miss the platform, so we really teleport him like a lot. We don't want an attack to miss because there are 3 more enemies in this room, so we don't want this single attack to miss, especially because it was a killing blow. So we have lots of things like this happening, and it's really, really important. And one thing that we actually noticed when we made that, it actually allowed us for much more difficulty in this game. It allowed us to make much more difficult combat and everything because it was all about strategy and less about actual controls or platforming or whatever. It's really all about just thinking what's happening, what I'm going to do, and thinking split second. And something that we also discovered, which was really surprising, that will make our next game really based on this thing. Most reviews actually talk a lot more about controls and game feels and how the game plays right and everything. And they do that before talking about the actual gameplay, which is, as a game designer, like but still, they do talk about that more, so which is really important because, yeah, we had many positive reviews and it's all about that. Okay, just a small off-topic thing about the early access. We learned 2 things when we've been to early access. You know, it was, by this time, everyone was talking about the Indiepocalypse, and many people just told us, you should not do an early access, you should do something else. And actually, it went fine, and people were really, really helpful, and all the feedback, especially the negative one, were really helpful on early access. And a small thing that we did, I don't remember from who actually brought that, but it's when we publish the patch notes, we highlight every single line which is based on community feedback. And it could be something like, of course, a bug report, but also a new feature, a new gameplay change or something, because it actually makes the community quickly understand that they are really having a strong impact on the game. Because they do have, most of our patch notes are maybe 50-50 of player suggestions on our own roadmap. So it's really, really important. It doesn't cost anything. It really makes a change. And, this one, I do steal it from the guy from Subnautica, Unknown Worlds. Early access is really like a show. You basically have to prepare your updates. You have maybe give a name to your updates, make videos, short gameplay video to introduce them. Make your show, your early access a show. Make sure that it's dynamic and things happen and everything, because it's more shows than a beta, to be really honest here. It's more a marketing tool than anything else. Yes, you will gather feedback, but at the same time, you have to think about the dynamic. It has to be interesting for players. Like, you have to have game-changing things every maybe single month or something like that. Quick takeaway. I will just say, when you make a game, really don't matter what kind of game you're doing, it's really all about taking care of details, and especially if it's not the core of the game. This game, Dead Cells, is not a platforming game. It's a combat game, it's a progression game, it's, as I said, stuff like that. You see, but it's not a hardcore platformer, but still, because platforming is part of the game, but we don't want that to get in the way of the player, we just actually take extra care, actually much more care about controls, for example, than anything else, because we don't want that to be like an issue in any way, and also because of the permadeath. Maybe you recognize those games, you know, they were like really great, and especially Prince of Persia was a defining title for Dead Cells. But I did play them, all of them again, many times, Symphony of the Night especially. And you know what? When I played them again, actually I didn't have such a great time. Actually, they were good by their time. But now, you know, by modern standards, they just don't compete anymore. And this is a very important point. When you make a game, whatever, if you have any kind of retro inspiration or whatever, it's really important to make it as you remember. Please don't make a shitty jump curve just because it was like that by this time. It's really not fun. And lots of things have evolved, and it's really all about getting the feelings that you had from this game and transforming back into your game, not copying things because it's really not interesting, I think. So thank you, everyone. And if you have any question, please feel free to ask. Yep.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for the talk, thanks for the game. In your talk, you mentioned how platforming wasn't the key challenge of Dead Cells, so you wanted to make it as breezy as possible. However, in my playthrough, I noticed the fall damage was pretty punishing, and so it basically led to this pattern of the ground slam negating it, I just ground slammed everywhere I went.
Sorry, can you repeat? I didn't understand the end.
Oh, sure. So the ground slam move, where you press down and attack, it negates fall damage. So it kind of just created this play pattern of everywhere I go in the game, I'm ground slamming. And I was curious what thought went into the fall damage, taking into account that that's part of the platforming and not really part of the difficulty you were going for.
We did this move because we wanted to have an extra tool for the player. At one point, it was maybe we wanted to make that something locked behind some kind of challenge or whatever. But sorry, we decided to make part of the game because it really added a little layer of extra strategy. It allows you to, for example, to get quickly to the ground because you have only melee weapons, so you don't want to get too far from the enemies. It was really added for that. And yes, it did change a few things about the world design, but actually not that much. It was really all about giving tools for advanced players. Actually, we don't explain this tool at any point in the game. We don't have any kind of tutorial or whatever. We just want this to be discovered accidentally because it's not important, but it can be really useful when you're an advanced player. Most of players will actually use it, but maybe after 4 or 5 hours of gameplay. So it's really meant to be like that.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay, thank you for your talk. It was very fun to watch too, like your game. I wanted to know how you avoid to give the feeling that you need to grind and, you know, restart a lot of game to win this game. It's a big problem with roguelike with the unlock system.
So all about making sure that you have new content every time you play. You know, it's really like a free-to-play thing. You know, to make sure that every time you die and get back at the beginning, we want you to have something fresh to try. For example, the good example is the vine rune that allows you to grow this ladder. Is that something that you quickly see in the first level? You have these green things on the ground. You cannot do anything. You don't have any kind of tutorial explaining what is it. And at one point in the promenade, you actually get the power to make this green thing turn into a vine. So it's all about making sure that you noticed this thing before, just like in a Metroidvania. So when you get back in the prison, you say, hey, I saw this thing in the prison. I died, but I know there is something like that in the prison. Let's go there. And the reward behind this wall is a new level. This is a very important small loop that we spend quite a lot of time thinking of this particular one. Because we wanted to have, something strange, solution. Okay, I unlock something, a new level like, as a reward. a new pass. It's really all about that, making sure that the player understands quickly the loop of the game, and he understands that, okay, now I see every time I die, I might have something new to do. And at one point, it's unlocking weapons, but it could be unlocking pass. So really taking care of the very first one to make sure that he understands everything, and he has this blow mining moment where he says, oh, okay, I see, I can do that now. And it makes everything else after that work more easily.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Hello, good talk. You said you put things in the game to make the game easier, like the jumps and the double jump mechanics. Did that game design actually make it hard to do other things, like make the bosses easier, or did that make it worse in any way?
It didn't change much thing for the bosses, because most bosses except one is not at all about platforming. In most boss rooms, you don't have much platforms. So it's really, it didn't change much anything for the bosses. Actually, the most important thing and issue that we had is about the wall climbing thing, because you could cheese bosses like this. But that's something that we are trying to address even as of today. But yeah, it didn't change much. Actually, because the bosses happen after the fourth level, you have time to get used to the controls. So when you reach a boss, it's really all about combat and positioning. And the first one is actually a 1D boss. It's not a 2D, it's really one dimension. So you just have to think, I'm on the left, as I'm on the right, I have to avoid attack. Some of them are both sides, so you have to jump. So it's really about having very low learning curve. Even it's still really hard, and most players do say that. So it's really all about making sure that the learning curve is properly controlled.
So there was no negatives in adding those?
No, it didn't impact anything, because we don't have platforming during boss fights. So we do have, but on the last one, so it's really far.
Yeah. Sounds good. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Please.
Okay,
Yeah.
Thanks for the talk, great game. I have just a question about the balance in the gameplay. There is like a mechanic you can use sometimes. Some people say it's an exploit, some people say it's a smart thing. It's like hanging on the rope, and some enemies, they can't reach you at that point, and then you scatter your tactical weapons. Is it something you intentionally let in the game for people to feel smart in a way, or is it just something you couldn't fix at the last time?
It's actually both. I did play like a lot of the Division 1, and you know, I do play turrets most of the time. I really like this kind of gameplay. And you know, it's really all about thinking, is it breaking the game? First question, which is important. If it's not, is it a decent way to play? And to answer that, we actually have a rule internally when, for example, when I design weapons and I make gameplay choice, it's all about considering that each combat takes 2 seconds. So it's really that. And everything is defined around this idea. So the DPS and everything is balanced around these 2 seconds. So when you fight an enemy, it lasts 2 seconds. If you use a very strong, risky weapon, such as a very heavy weapon, we actually allow you to make that in 1 second. So you just one-shot the enemy. But it's more risky because you have a long casting time. But if you use, for example, a ranged weapon or cheesy anything, turret or something like that, actually the combat will last 3 or 4 seconds. It's really all about that. If you want to take your time, it's fine. You will miss a few elements in the game, so time doors or challenges like that. But it's really all about, okay, embrace the idea that they will cheese anyway, they will do that. If you want to fight that, it's difficult because they will always find new ways to cheese, and especially if you have ladders, if you have turrets or stuff like that. So it's really about embracing that and making it part of the gameplay. So for example, turrets have like 100 DPS. A fast weapon will have maybe 120, and a very powerful slow one we have about 200. So it's really all about balancing numbers to make sure that combat lasts longer.
Thank you.
Okay, so sorry, we can continue to discuss outside because we are out of time, but thanks.